by the mayor and approved by city council. First, we will hear from planning services, represented tonight by John Barrett. Then the applicant or their representative will make their presentation. Applicants will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Staff will keep time and will announce when 30 seconds are remaining. Public comment is available in person or remotely. We will first call on individuals present to address the board, then remote participants. To speak during a public hearing or during public comment remotely, press star 9 if listening by phone, or use the raise hand feature if viewing through the web link. For phone access, call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand using the last 3 digits of their phone number or by name if available for those accessing through the web link. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds. We may ask questions of either the city or the applicant. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. The board will then discuss the appeal and formulate a motion to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes of the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified party who is aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court in a timely basis. Roll call: Candace Breyer, I am here. Todd Grant.
I am here.
Dave DeVarty.
DeVarty here.
Chris Madigan.
Here.
Sadira Clark. Grace Whitney.
Here.
Mike Daniel.
Here.
Dharma Ekman.
Here.
Christina Glusak.
Here.
We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Are there any questions, comments on the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Chris. Support from Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to minutes. We have minutes from the October 25th, 2023 ZBA meeting. Are there any questions, comments, corrections to those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve the October minutes? Thank you, Chris. Support? Thank you, Dharma. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to public hearings. First, we have petition ZBA 23-0029, 1021 Robin Road. John?
I'm John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor. The first petition is 1021 Robin Road. The property owners are requesting a 16-foot, 8-inch variance from table 5.17-1, single-family dwelling district dimensions, to construct an approximately 620 square foot addition to the existing attached garage. The new addition will provide additional vehicle parking and a 1-bedroom, 1-bath living area. The property is zoned R1B, single-family dwelling. The subject property is located at the intersection of Red Oak Road, Robin Road, and Hockey Lane in the Upper Water Hill subdivision. The home was built in 1951 and is approximately 2,280 square feet in size. The existing house encroaches 6 feet 4 inches into the required front setback currently. The encroachment includes a 1-car garage and a hallway that connects to the home. The proposed construction will expand the garage to allow parking for 2 vehicles. The existing bedroom will be enlarged along with a new full bathroom that will encroach into the front setback. The proposed addition will encroach further into the front setback by 10 feet 4 inches. The addition will be approximately 31 feet from the edge of Robin Road. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you see the first slide is the zoning map, and you see the highlighted parcel at the center of your screen in blue. The next slide is the location map, and it's you see the existing conditions and surrounding neighborhoods. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property, and you see its relationship to the front lot line and Robin Road, and how the existing garage encroaches into that front setback. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. And the next slide is a proposed site plan showing the existing site plan and its current configuration. And the next slide is the proposed, and you see the difference between the two, the existing and its current encroachment, a one-car garage with a hallway connecting to the home, and then the next slide showing the expansion of the garage with the bedroom. Next slide shows a floor plan of the proposed addition. You see the garage, the hallway, a bedroom right here, and a laundry. Next slide is that was the existing, this is the proposed, excuse me, and you see the expansion of the garage with the bedroom and the bathroom right here. And you see the dashed front setback line as it bisects the existing garage and the proposed addition. These are photos that were submitted with the applicant's application. These are the photos that I took on my inspection of the property. You see the existing garage in its current configuration and location. This is the garage on the, I'd say it's the northeast side, northwest side, and it's in this relationship. Robin Road is to the right of where I'm standing. This is looking at the back of the garage and the back of the home. And the garage is right here. This is the garage and then the driveway, and you see Robin Road down here to the left. This is the backyard, and you see the deck and the existing conditions. More of the rest of the home. And this is looking out towards Robin Road and across the street at the neighboring properties. That concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Thanks, John. Any questions? Todd?
John, I was a little unclear. So they're asking to go 16 feet 8 inches into the setback. So what is the required setback?
The required setback is, for the average, it's, hold on one second.
Yeah, I'd like to try to get an idea about what
The
percent.
a 30-foot front yard setback.
30 foot, okay. So they essentially want to take roughly about half of the setback.
Yep, do you see the picture on the monitor right now?
Yeah,
And on the left-hand side, you see the 30-foot front setback, dash line bisecting that garage. And then on the right side, you see the 16 feet 8 inches, the encroachment right there on the right-hand side where my cursor is.
great, good.
Is
Thank
that, yes, sir.
And what is the existing encroachment?
It currently encroaches, what did I say, 6 feet 4 inches.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the applicant is here, you can come forward and state your name for the record, please. You'll have 5 minutes.
All right, so I'm Patricia Laskowski. I'm a homeowner. I'm the homeowner for 1021 Robin. And so we have looked at this property several different ways. So first of all, we really wanted a usable garage. The garage that we have right now is not usable for a car, at least for 21st century cars. And so the idea was that we wanted to expand the garage. And so we also were looking for several different ways to do this. And so we wanted to be as minimally invasive to the property as we could, meaning like we didn't want to cut down all of the really old trees. And then in addition, the property is really steep and has like significant grade issues on both sides of the house. And so this is like the only flat part of the yard that kind of exists on our property. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we picked this area. So least amount of like grading issues. And then also like there are no trees presently right there in that area so we wouldn't have to cut down any of the old trees. I don't know if there's anything that I should add, Jimmy.
I think that's what we were talking about. It's, we looked at the other side of the house, and they would have been cutting down some short trees.
Can you come up so we can get you in the microphone? Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Bevelak. I helped design this project. So when we approached this, we looked at making a garage that right now currently, like no car other than kind of a smart car can fit into. It's too shallow, because at some point before they bought the house, part of the existing garage, which was small to begin with, was converted into a hallway. So right now, it's just used for storage. So if we were touching that area to try and make a usable garage, I think the motivation was, well, make a two-car garage, and kind of take advantage of how it's already set up. And it just so happens that it's also the flattest area, which is best used for a garage. There's very little grade change, if any, that would need to be made there. No trees would have to be cut down. No mature trees. There'd be, some bushes that would have to come out, and one small tree. But on the other side, we're looking at like a 34-inch oak and a 24-inch diameter maple that would possibly have to come out just for the driveway to be redirected and get it. Plus, there's a grade issue on that side, not as problematic as kind of the other side of the house, but we were trying to be, the least effect on the existing house, because if we put the garage on the other side, then we're also having to change the passage from the garage through, and there's bedrooms there that would need to be, changed up. And so where the garage is and the current configuration of the house made the most sense. So that's why we're just asking. The property is also kind of on a peninsula where it's got 3 roads. Essentially, it's like 2 public roads and a private right-of-way that surround it. And so contextually, it is kind of isolated and separated from the neighbors. There will still be 30 feet from the road, so there's a kind of a generous setback from the road, and the property line sits already inside of that. So these are just considerations that we were looking at when deciding, let's try and keep it where the garage is, and take advantage of that, so.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for the petitioner? Todd?
Yes, I do, and I don't know, Patricia, right?
Yes.
And you're Jim?
Yep.
Okay, I turned my hearing aid up, so. So you explained why you couldn't use the garage. That was one of the questions I had. That was good. Am I correct in saying that if you put the garage on the other side of the house, but then you had to chop down 4 trees, that you would not need a variance? Is that correct?
I still think there is a slight variance we would need for the other side.
We could do a 1-car garage on the other side and not need a variance, but not a 2-car. A 2-car would go into the setback from the right-of-way.
And I assume you're a 2-car family, and most houses are 2 cars.
Yes.
Actually, I think in my neighborhood, there are probably more cars than adults.
Plus we have our son's, cars, so.
Okay.
I mean, they're like, toy cars. I was trying to make a joke, but it was bad.
Thank you.
So there's the expansion you want to do. If you were to do something smaller, you could obviously do a 1-car garage on that side, right?
On the side that.
The side you're proposing to do the 2-car, you could expand the currently too small garage into a 1-car.
Yes.
And have less of a need, have a smaller variance ask.
Yes, a smaller variance to ask. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And it is pre-existing non-conforming in that, it already, encroaches.
Sure.
And so that's one of the reasons why we asked for some more.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
We do appreciate your time.
All right, thank you very,
Can I get both of you to sign in, please?
Oh.
There should be a sign-in sheet and a pen. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak, please come up to the microphone. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Sandra Kunkel, and I'm going to read my statement. I am the owner of the property at 1201 Minglewood Way on the southwest corner of Minglewood and Robin Streets. And the property is within 300 feet of the 1021 Robin Road property. I object to the request by the owners of this property for a zoning variance for the following 5 reasons. The position of the proposed garage and addition will be noticeably visible as non-conforming to the neighborhood. The property already encroaches 6 feet 4 inches into the required setback. Granting the variance will result in increasing this encroachment to a total of 16 feet 8 inches, which is more than half the distance from the house to the street required by the current zoning setback. I regularly walk the neighborhood, and I have not found other houses or garages in Vesper Heights, Upper Water Hill you called it, that are visibly non-conforming from the front setback. 2, there are other options to enlarge the garage without encroaching further on the 30-foot setback. Maintaining the unusable garage is a choice of the homeowner. There are other options for constructing a garage elsewhere on this large property. There are other options to enlarge the garage, perhaps not desired by the homeowners, but they do exist. 3, there is a danger of setting precedent by granting this variance. There are other homes in the immediate neighborhood with single-car garages. They may consider their single-car garage as inconvenient, even unusable. Seeing this variance granted can result in, why not us? 4, the proposed construction effectively creates a 39-foot solid wall just 13 feet 4 inches from the curb of Robin Road. It will be out of character with the open spaces of the neighborhood and a visual discomfort to drivers, bicyclists, pedestrians, and neighbors. 5, the proposed garage will be a dominant feature of Robin Road due to the proximity of the street. The City of Ann Arbor Land Use Plan states, quote, "Garages should not be the dominant feature along a streetscape," Chapter 5, page 27. I believe this is a negative impact to the neighborhood, and I ask the Zoning Board of Appeals to deny this requested variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, come on up.
Hi, my name is Andrea Bundra. I live on Hockey Lane and we've owned the property for over 50 years. I very much appreciate your concern for saving the vegetation. That's a huge part of why we love the place. I just have some questions. Has anybody thought about, as we increase the sidewalks in Ann Arbor, we're adding more and more, we just added on Brooks, how that would fit into this plan? I personally would love to see a smaller encroachment, a smaller footprint increase. I think that would be awkward to add the sidewalk where it is. I think you had a point. I get that it is kind of not in keeping with the neighborhood, but I don't have anything prepared. It's hard to see from the, the very small video images. I couldn't access anything better online, but I would like you to take a look at that and see, well, in the future, where would the sidewalks go? What would that look like? And how would that look like coming up the hill? All you can see is this massive structure. I don't know. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peter Klaas. We live at 1014 Robin, just across the street from 1021 Robin. I have concerns about it's already encroaching on the setback, and this would be a significant increase to that. And in all the years that we have lived in this neighborhood, this is the first time anybody has sought a variance for any project, and there's been a lot of renovations, additions, and that sort of thing in the neighborhood. So I'm just a little concerned it would kind of put things out of character for the rest of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. There's anyone else present that wishes to speak?
Pardon?
Oh, no, I was just asking if there's anyone else present that wants to speak. If not, if there's anyone accessing the meeting remotely that wishes to speak on this petition, please press star 9 if accessing by phone or use the raise hand feature if viewing through the web link.
There are no callers at this time.
Thank you, John. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Chris?
This one seems very straightforward to me. I'm going to support it. I think that this is a unique enough lot that it justifies the case for a variance. Though there is clearly buildable area within the permitted setbacks, I think that the nature of the change in grade with the current placement of the garage makes it a reasonable request. It seems pretty clear to me that if we were to force them into the buildable area of their lot, they would have to significantly change their driveway. And I think that's an unnecessary burden. So to me, there is a clear, hardship which justifies the request. I would reckon that there are probably very few lots that have 3 frontages. Also, just a quick note, the difference here between where the road starts and the right-of-way line is fairly significant. For a residential street to have, I see it's labeled on the plot plan as variable width, but given that Red Oak is 66-foot wide right-of-way, I'm guessing that Robin is probably pretty similar. So I don't think that it's unfair, even though it's not labeled. I'm guessing the amount of area within the right-of-way where they have to be set back from to the road is, it's got to be at least 10 or 15 feet. So we're asking them to set back from this right-of-way line, which, is and it's common, that the right-of-way line and the asphalt don't line up, but this is big in a residential area, and so, yes, we would be encroaching in the setback. No, I don't think it would be unreasonably close to the road, and I think there's enough of a case of a hardship that this seems like a pretty reasonable request.
Thanks, Chris. Todd? Oh. Go ahead, then Dave.
Sorry to be dense on this, I guess I'm again a little confused. If the new garage is built the way the applicant wants, is it going to be roughly 15 feet from the current road, or is it going to be 31?
31 feet 8 inches.
The application states that it's going to be 31. So if you look at this.
So the new garage will be 31 feet from the road?
If you look at the.
Okay.
If you look at the monitor, so the edge of the road is about right where my cursor is. And when I was on the phone with the architect, I think we measured, according to if I can recall, it's about 12 feet from there to the property line. And then it would be another, whatever that distance is to the garage.
Gotcha. Okay.
You got a distance to the lot line, and then you got a distance from the property line to that, down to that road.
Okay. So thank you, John, for clarifying that. I'm on the fence with this because the 30 feet is a goodly distance and the property has a bunch of trees and is somewhat isolated from the other properties. On the other hand, I have a problem if the applicant can solve the situation and get what they want without coming before us for a variance. They could change the current garage. They could also put the garage on the other side of the property. Yes, they would have to chop down 4 trees, but they could do it without needing a variance. So on one hand, I understand the need for a 2-car garage. I don't have a problem with that. But do they really need us to intervene and do it? And then on the other side, they're 30 feet from the street. So I guess I'd like some feedback from my fellow board members to help push me on one side or the other.
Dave?
I've got several points I want to make. One is, this is one of the neighborhoods where in the city there are intermittent sidewalks, and I know the right-of-way issue is something that's important because sidewalks are part of what public improvements we build in the right-of-way. And I think we need to take that into account when we're talking about distance from the right-of-way. I don't know what the city has planned for adding sidewalks in this neighborhood, but I know we have added some. And I do know that we frequently ask homeowners at their expense, adding assessments. My brother had to do this at a sidewalk some years ago at his expense with added assessment over in the Platte Road area. And I know other neighborhoods have had that, like Traver Road, and that area has also had that burden put on homeowners. We may be going away, we have a city council person here, we may be going away from that, but that to me is an issue that counsels towards protecting and maintaining the full right-of-way on all of these streets. We have a problem with approving this because we need to meet 5 criteria to grant an approval. One criteria is clearly met, practical difficulty because it's exceptional and peculiar to this property. I've seen this property, I've seen the neighborhood, the slopes, the trees, these are all peculiar things. That's the only criteria that I think the petitioner meets in this case. Practical difficulty, which will result from the failure to grant the variance, no. There are other options for the people. If they want to have a garage, it doesn't have to be a 2-car garage. I live in the Burns Park neighborhood, which has very problematic street parking, and our family parks both of our cars on the street. Allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done, considering public benefits, practical difficulties, rights of others whose property would be affected by allowing the variance. The speakers who have come from the public tonight clearly, with their statements, make this a no. It does not meet that standard. And finally, the variance shall be the minimum variance that will make possible a reasonable use of the land or structure. And I have to say no to that as well. You have functioning residents there. I understand you want a 2-car garage, but I think the impacts on the neighborhood have to weigh against this, so I'll be voting no.
Thanks. Mike?
Great points, as usual, by my fellow commissioners. Very torn on this one, like Commissioner Grant. Of the various factors that Commissioner DeVarty laid out, I'm not as negative on most of them. However, on that 5th one, the minimum variance is where I'm having a bit of an issue, and I get that the current garage isn't functioning to park even a single car and the need to expand it, but I think it could be expanded into a just bigger 1-car garage going less into the setback. And I would support something like that, to be honest, if it was just expanding this to make it a single-car garage. I get the need for that without having a functioning garage at all when you have one that's too small and outdated. But the 2-car garage was, to me, more of a nice-to-have than a real need to use your property in a reasonable way. So I'm open to points pushing me the other way, but I'm on the no side of the fence right now.
Quickly, without repeating everything that's been said, I am very much in agreement with what you just said, Mike, and that criteria is kind of what has me hung up. I'm not sure that this is the minimum necessary, and again, I would be more inclined to support it if it was a request to do a 1-car garage or some kind of expansion on what's there that has some encroachment, but maybe not the full 16.5-foot encroachment. Yeah, I think that this might just be a little bit too big of an ask. Yeah, Sadir?
Yeah, I'm going to be voting against this tonight, as everyone else said, for similar reasons. Also, it's just a 2-car garage is a luxury and a choice, and with your parcel's limitations, there's choices to be made, and, you know, if you want 2-car garage, using up part of your lot for an extended driveway might just be the compromise. But yeah, it's, with something less than 2 miles from downtown, purchasing into a city, it's not consistent with city's values and plans. I don't see how it meets any of the criteria, and it impacts the neighbors negatively. I just don't see it as having really any justification.
Any other discussion?
I have a sort of question, kind of.
Yeah, go ahead, Christina.
So if a single car garage were to be pursued, it sounds like they would still need a variance. Is that what I thought I heard that from
I
the
think so,
applicant.
yeah, but it would be a smaller,
Yeah, smaller, but just, what was that studied? Can I ask them?
Oh,
or-
yeah.
Was it studied just to provide a single car with ample room for?
I mean, we looked at it, and, you know, it's mainly the length front to back of the garage that's problematic now. You can't park in it. You know, it is a little bit narrow, but it's mainly the length
length.
front to back. So it would basically be, you know, keeping, I mean, I think at the very minimum, we can try and kind of pull the garage forward, which just
Yeah.
kind of keeps the line.
But
Which essentially is
ideally-
no further encroachment. I mean, if we can use the line
length.
of the existing garage. You know, part of the thing that we had in this is, well, if we were gonna have a new wall, right, is then kind of to extend it back further where that kind of cutout is in the back, so that the kind of house meets that line of the garage. If we were to do that same thing on the one car, just based on the angle of the house as it's angled to the setback, there would be a little bit further encroachment, even though we kept the same line of wall, right? So we looked at those options, but I think what ended up happening for us, to be honest, was that it's still going to be 31 feet from the road, is what we thought. And we thought that then, you know, in order to get the two-car garage, and I get what you're saying, that it's a luxury to have a two-car garage, but it's also not uncommon in this neighborhood to have two-car garages. This is not kind of part of the city where, you know, houses are built right on top of each other. It's just not. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Chris?
I don't have a question, I have just more comments, so. Yeah, I'm probably fighting to lose battle here, but I just think I have to go for this one because it's so clear cut. The challenges on this property are so clear. You know, the plot plan labels the lot at approximately 108 feet. And if you look at the site plan proposed, I think it's actually done wrong because they have a 5-foot setback on what is, I consider, the rear property line. I think we would actually have to apply a 40-foot setback because there's got to be no, it's just a side.
The rear setback is on the hockey lane side, because
Is
the
that-
rear yard is opposite, when it's in a corner lot, it's opposite the shorter of the two linear frontages,
Okay.
and so that's why that's on that side.
Okay. So, but if the right-of-way from the road is 12 feet, and then we're adding an additional 30 feet, so it's 42 feet, plus the 5 in the rear, it's nearly half the lot we're taking up. We're saying you have to be set back from, you know, and not only that, the buildable area to the left clearly has a steep slope. I can see the close lines which indicate a steeper slope on the site plan. I think it's preposterous that we wouldn't grant this, that somehow 2 cars is like a luxury in a neighborhood that was clearly built for people to drive places. You know, and I don't know, I just, to me, it's a very reasonable request to want a 2-car garage in this area so that families may exist there. And, I mean, I think we've already taken up so much of this property with the way front setbacks are calculated, right? Because I could move down the street, build a new house that's 80 feet back, screw everyone's common front setback up, and then anyone would have to come here and ask for a variance. I mean, the setback is large from the road. It's significant for a lot this width. And I just don't understand, like, what is so egregious about wanting a second garage? And, yeah. Or a two-car garage, excuse me.
Dartmouth.
I think I'm also stuck on, it's not that I think that this is an unreasonable ask, but I am stuck on the point about the minimum variance that will make possible reasonable use. Lots of us have one-car garages, and I'm not trying to dictate how many cars people should have in their family, but it seems that plenty of people get by. So I guess that's a little bit difficult for me. I did wonder if you could enlighten me what you see. I'm not clear what you're saying is so special about this lot that makes it so difficult.
So, okay. So it's a narrow lot to begin with, right? From Hockey Lane down to
Red Oak.
Yeah. What runs the length between those two is not particularly wide, right? And so that we have to compete with a third frontage is completely unique, right? People don't have to compete with three frontages along their property. I mean, it's so, I can't think of another example in the city. I mean, they probably exist, but, and then if you look at it's labeled page 23, right? There are elevation lines. They're faint, but I believe they're on there.
Yeah,
And
there's
the
roughly
higher they
27
are-
feet of drop from the house to Red Oak.
Yeah.
And that's all in the buildable area.
Exactly. So what we would be saying is to not come here to request a variance. We would force them into the least buildable part of their lot. Force them to change the configuration of their driveway or put in an entirely new one, compete with the grade that's coming up from Robin Road. And while I know it's there, to me, the change in elevation, the difficulty with grade is the reason that variance exists, right? It is the classic example that planners give when elevation changes prohibit building in an area. And I don't know that it prohibits it, but I do believe that it makes it much more challenging. Sorry, this is off. To me, the conditions are present for a variance request. Is it the minimum? I mean, yeah, I guess if you're anti-car, then no, it's not the minimum. I don't particularly care. I think this portion of town, and a lot of portions of town, were designed and set up to force people into cars. Now we're saying two-car garage is just too much. It seems very like a reasonable request to want a second two-car garage in this climate. And we're really not encroaching that closely to the road.
Mike.
They're asking to go from being able to park 0 cars to 2 instead of 1 to 2, right? So that's where I'm stuck. Like, I understand the need to have something, but going from nothing to 2, I'm just hung up on that fifth point. Like, I hear you're making good points on all the other ones, but on number 5, I'm hung up.
Todd.
I think, thinking about this and listening to everybody's comments is not an easy one, but I think I'm going to vote no. And a reason coming back to one of my earlier comments is that if you're able to solve the problem without getting a special dispensation, you should be able to do that. Well, here's what I'm saying. They're hung up on having a garage that attaches to the house. But there are plenty of garages in this city that don't attach to their house. In fact, it used to be illegal to do that. You can put a garage anywhere. And there's plenty of room to put a 3-car garage. They don't need special permission from us. And because the solution already exists, sort of like, Goldilocks and like the Wizard of Oz, that, you have your little magic shoes, you can do it yourself. They don't need our help. And for that reason, I'm going to vote no.
So can I just ask a quick question?
Sorry, we're in discussion. Dave, did you have?
I just want to continue to respond to Chris's points. We don't owe any, sorry, my mic's not on. No. And I don't have my clicking pen anymore. we don't owe anybody a two-car garage. People have stated, and people exist without them. They have the capability to work with what they have. They've got space to build. We don't have sidewalks there. Hopefully, I'm a sidewalk person. I want to see more sidewalks in these neighborhoods, especially in not just in this neighborhood, which is a middle-class neighborhood, but some of the wealthier neighborhoods up there on Vinewood and Overidge and all those streets up in Ann Arbor Hills. I'd like to see sidewalks in there. And when I drive in those neighborhoods, there's people with strollers in the streets with their kids because there's not a sidewalk. And I see that as a detriment. Right-of-ways are very important, and they're important to put sidewalks in there as well as the roads. There is road parking. I know people that live in this neighborhood, and this variance does not meet most of our standards that we have to judge it by. I concede that there is a tremendous slope issue here. But that can be built around. That could be made, you can make use of it in interesting architectural ways. I just don't see any of the clear reasons that my fellow commissioner sees. And so I just want to reaffirm I'll be voting no.
So if I could say something, I don't have a vote, and I'm neutral. I usually try to I remain neutral as possible, and I don't speak up, but I just want to clarify a couple of things. So there is a sidewalk along Red Oak down here.
Right.
And then there isn't one on Robin Road.
Correct.
I'm not sure what engineering or the capital improvements program has in the future for the sidewalks, but they would be between this property boundary and Robin Road. So they'd be in this right-of-way area. So that's one thing that I think that's being mentioned and considered. I don't know how that would play into or impact the garage project. The other things are, there is a significant topographical change, and I will show you where my vehicle was parked when I took these photos. That's my truck down there. It's probably 20 feet down from where I'm standing. And then I will mention the fact that, so you do have a lot that has 3 frontages, but Hockey Lane is a private road. And so that's why there's a 40-foot rear setback. There would possibly be a 30-foot setback on that side, but it's a private road. So you do have a 30-foot front setback along Robin, a 30-foot front setback along Red Oak, and then you have this 40-foot rear setback, and then you get your side yard. So I just wanted to make those comments, if that helps clear anything up. I'm hearing good points on both sides, and I just wanted to clear some things up if that was possible.
Sadir.
Just a quick point too about sidewalk. Just in theory, in the future, if there is a sidewalk put in there, having the garage encroaching even closer to it does make it more challenging backing out of that driveway and potentially like conflicts for pedestrians and things like that. And that's just, I want to throw that out there.
Dharma, did you have something else?
So just to clarify, granting this variance does not pose any kind of future threat to building a sidewalk, correct? Okay. How far would it still be from any sidewalk? It would still be 30 feet? Is that right?
No, it'd be essentially what the difference to the right-of-way line is, plus
Okay.
a foot, more
Okay.
or less.
Okay.
Right, that's the typical standard, a foot off the back of the right-of-way?
That's correct. The property lines generally are 1 foot behind the sidewalk. But the sidewalk, if there was one, it would lie in between the Robin Road edge and the property line. So it'd probably be in this area.
14 feet from this new wall.
Correct. Approximately 14 to 15 feet away, yep. But I don't really think that is something that's being taken into consideration tonight. It doesn't exist now, and it might not exist for who knows how many years. And the driveway's existing now, so they have to back out now anyway, so.
Prepared to make a motion.
I think we're ready, Dave, thank you.
Thank you. ZBA 23-0029, 1021 Robin Road. In accordance with established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 16-foot 8-inch variance from Table 5.17-1, single-family dwelling district dimensions, to construct a 620-square-foot addition to the existing garage. The new addition will encroach an additional 10 feet 4 inches into the front setback from its current location. The addition is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Dave. I have a motion. Do I have support? Thank you, Grace.
Can I ask a question before we do this vote?
Sure.
And it's really for them, it's not for you guys, and I made my point, so, if the single-car garage that's less of a request or no request at all versus what, if that's under consideration and you don't want to reapply, and we've already made our motion, but would there be a possibility of tabling it so that they could redraw plans at a reduced rate to alleviate some of the concerns without having to pay to apply again? Is that doable? I don't even know if it's something you want, but given that it's clearly a reason some people are voting no, I don't know.
You'd have to present a motion to do a table, and then they'd have to vote on whether the board wants to table it or not.
I don't even know if that's something you guys want,
Well,
but
you shouldn't be asking them. Yeah.
well, if they're not going to redraw plans, then there's no point in making the motion, right? But
Can I ask just a quick question?
No. It's closed.
sorry, I
Public
didn't
hearing's
mean to
closed,
throw it
yeah.
off. It was just given that was seemingly part of the problem. It seemed like a idea that John doesn't like. I don't.
My question wouldn't be about this, it would be about a different design and whether or not it would even require a variance. Is that okay to ask?
Yes, quickly.
So.
Come up to the microphone, please.
Thank you.
Come up to the microphone.
I'm sorry. If we were to maintain or, let's say, get even further from the setback in an addition on this side, while it would still be encroaching the setback, does the existing house actually create the setback, or is it the 30-foot? So like, would we need a variance if we stepped back?
So you can work with staff. If you're not encroaching further, typically, because your house is already encroaching or your garage is already encroaching,
Yes.
it would still be considered a non-conforming structure, so
Right.
you would still need permission to alter a non-conforming structure.
Permission to alter
But the
non-conforming.
standards for that are simpler than the standards for a variance. But John can give you direction on that.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion from Dave. We have support from Grace. Sadira?
No.
Mike?
No.
Dave?
DeVarty, no.
Christina?
No.
Todd?
No.
Chris?
Support.
Grace?
Yes.
I also vote no. Dharma?
No.
The request is denied. Moving on to petition ZBA 23-0030, 413 South Division Street. John?
Metro Property Services is requesting relief from Section 5.32.2, non-conforming structure, in order to construct a 16-foot 4-inch by 4-foot addition to allow for additional area for the bedrooms on the first, second, and third floors. The applicants are also requesting to add dormers to the third floor, which will allow for a new bedroom to Unit 4, their setback areas. The property is zoned R4C Multiple Family Dwelling District. The subject property is located on the east side of South Division Street, due south of East William Street. The structure is the northern property from the University of Michigan's Institute of Social Research. The residence was constructed in 1901 and is approximately 2,955 square feet in size. The subject property received approval for an alteration to a nonconforming structure on May 25th, 2022. The approved alteration allowed for the creation of Unit 1 in the basement containing 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Unit 2 is to be located on the first floor as a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom unit. Unit 3 will be on the second floor and consist of 6 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms as well. The third story will house Unit 4 with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The approved renovations were required to take place within the current envelope of the home, and there will be no changes to the length, width, or height of the building. Energy efficiency will be upgraded significantly with spray foam insulation and high-efficiency appliances while bringing the building up to all modern building codes. The new request is to allow for a bump out in the southwest corner of the home and dormer additions to the 3rd floor to allow for an additional bedroom in Unit 4. If you look at the monitor, the first slide, you see the zoning map, and you see the highlighted parcel in blue at the center of the screen. The next slide is the location map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the third slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the existing subject property. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. The next slide is the floor plan of the existing home, the site plan. And this is where the bump out in the southwest corner is to be. And it's the 16-foot, 4-inch, 16-foot by 4-foot wide bump out to allow for additional room in the bedrooms of units 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, it goes along the exact same plane as the existing home, so it won't encroach further. That's why it's not a variance request, it's an alteration request. Next slide shows the floor plan for the new first floor, and you see that new addition at that southwest corner right there. Next slide is the new second floor. And I know you've seen all these, I don't know if you remember it from a year and a half ago, but. And the next slide is the new third floor. And this is the approval from the last time to allow this new basement unit. These are the elevations that were submitted, the new west and east elevation. You see the new dormers being proposed to allow for that additional bedroom on the third floor for the unit 4 and the height increase. And that's from the south elevation. And the next slide is from the north elevation and the new dormers being proposed. And that's where the new addition will be too, on this south elevation, the bump out. These are the existing elevations. And these are the photos I took at my inspection. And the home is in its current state of construction. I believe that's where the bump out's going to be. Am I right, Rob? Right. Yep. This is where that southwest corner is, and it's going to fill in this bump out right there. This is the rear of the home. And that concludes my presentation, and I will take any questions you have at this time.
Thanks, John. Any questions? Dave?
Looking at this picture, is this where the bump out will be?
Yes.
In that front area,
This
where that
right-
blue door is, it'll,
Correct. It's 4
Come
feet
right in.
wide by 16 feet long, but as you see, it's along the same plane as the house existing.
Correct.
So it won't be requiring a variance. It won't be encroaching further to that south property line or the side setback.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner would like to come forward, please sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Rob Fowler. I'm the builder on the property.
And I am Chris Vessels, and my family owns the property. So just, John pretty much mentioned everything about it right now. It's currently under construction. We just finished all of the interior demo of it. So it's down to the studs right now. They dug out the basement. And then once we kind of completed this part of the process, we realized that we could make some improvements to it, not only for the sake of the tenants, but, just so it's a much more livable situation in the future. And we can add a little bit more density with an extra bedroom on the top floor. So we went through and this will allow us to add, we had to do fire suppression in the basement, which involves a big closet that took out a lot of space in one of the bedrooms. So this bump out will give us extra square feet that's distributed throughout all of the bedrooms. And, it cleans everything up and makes it so much more user-friendly. And like I said, we can put one more bedroom on the top floor as well.
All right, thank you. Questions for the petitioner? Dave?
You mentioned fire suppression, so you've
correct.
put in a whole new, like, sprinkler system, fire
Yeah,
suppression?
so one of the requirements, because it's 4 units, it has to be fire suppressed, which is great, it's in terms of life safety, it's amazing. But one of the requirements of that is we have to dig from the street into the
Right.
side of the house, and then when it comes in through the foundation, you have to have this closet with a big stack and all these valves and suppressors, so you have to kind of build out something for that. And
I've got a fire suppression set up in a rental unit.
okay, yeah, so that,
They'd eat up a
eats up
third of
square
that
foot.
bed.
But
Yeah, it eats up tons.
it's just, I didn't realize that they were requiring that as a new thing. It's apparently new, isn't it?
When you have 4 units, because it's commercial.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, please come forward now. If there's anyone who's accessing the meeting remotely, please press star 9 if you're accessing by phone, or use the raise hand feature if you're accessing through the web link.
I'm not seeing any callers.
Thanks, John. With that, the public hearing is closed and we are in discussion. Dave?
The standards for approving an alteration to a non-conforming structure are not as stringent as what we faced on the previous petition. This is part of the city that we look to for increased density and the modest size of this house and the full-scale improvements that they're doing, all weigh in the favor of the petitioner. And for me, I'll easily support this. It's a minimal change to the structure, and the standards are not very stringent to approve it.
Any other comments? All right, I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
ZBA 23-0030, 413 South Division Street, alteration to a non-conforming structure. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure to allow a 16-foot by 4-foot addition to the first, second, and third floors, and to allow a new dormer to the third floor. The alterations will allow for additional bedroom area on each floor and a new bedroom to Unit 4. The additions will not encroach further into the side or rear setback areas. The alterations are to be built per the submitted plans.
Motion, do I have support?
Support.
Thank you, Chris. Christina?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Yes.
Chris? Grace?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Dharma?
Yes.
Sadira?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 23-0031, 536 Walnut Street. John?
536 Walnut Street. David Lewis, representing the property owner, is requesting a 125 square foot or 10% variance from section 5.16.6, subsection D, accessory uses and structures, to construct a 599 square foot accessory dwelling unit with a portion outside of the rear setback area. The rear setback area allows for a 420 square foot structure, and the applicants are seeking to build a 545 square foot structure in the rear setback area. The proposed ADU will meet the setbacks and height requirements. The property is zoned R4C, multiple family dwelling district. The subject property is located on the west side of Walnut Street, with the Geddes Avenue to the north and South University Avenue to the south. The home was built in 1910 and is approximately 1,748 square feet in size. The home is currently certified as a single-family, four-bedroom home with a maximum of 6 occupants. The proposed ADU will contain 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room. The living area will be located over a 3-car garage. The 2 bedrooms in the ADU and 4 bedrooms in the main residence will allow for 6 bedrooms for a maximum of 6 occupants for the property. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you see the first slide is the zoning map, and you see the highlighted parcel in the center in blue. And the next slide is the location map showing surrounding conditions and existing neighborhoods. And the next slide shows the zoomed-in aerial photo of the existing subject property. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. And the next slide is the proposed ADU and a site plan. You see the proposed ADU over a one-story over parking, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 599 square feet, and it's in gray. The existing detached garage is showed here, that's footprint, and that is to be demolished. And you see the 30-foot minimum rear yard setback, and a portion of that will be outside of the setback right here. And ADU in the rear yard is 545 square feet, like I said, which is an additional 10% coverage in the rear setback area. Next slide is the proposed ADU. You see the layout, the proposed floor plan, the 2 bedrooms, bathroom, and a common room living area. This is the north elevation that's being proposed. And the east elevation, the south elevation, and the west elevation. These are the photos that I took on my inspection of the property. This is the front of the house from Walnut Street. This is going down the driveway. You see the existing garage that's to be demolished. You see the existing garage and its location to the neighboring fence and the abutting fence and the property stake and the distance to the lot line. This next photo is the back of the rear of the subject property. And that is all the photos that I have, and that's the end of my presentation. I'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Thanks, John. Questions? Todd?
John, this is a student rental, I suppose?
It's a rental, yeah.
Okay.
I believe it's mostly students, but it is a rental.
So my second and last question, it's an ADU because the new structure is not tied to the old one, right? It's a separate structure.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the applicant is here, if you can please come forward, state your name for the record, sign in. We'll have 5 minutes.
My name is David, excuse me, my name is David Lewis. I'm the architect for the property. Just wanted to point out a couple items. I think John did a pretty thorough presentation. Just wanted to mention that, this lot is a little bit smaller than most of the surrounding lots. And the existing house is a bit pushed further back than most of the neighboring houses. So the rear yard we had to work with for the ADU is definitely smaller than other lots in the immediate neighborhood. And this variance is just basically this 10% difference of the coverage for the rear yard. The other thing I wanted to mention, even though the zoning code addresses the required rear yard, but if you include the actual rear yard, this ADU is occupying only 35% of the actual rear yard, which in my mind, in spirit, complies with the zoning code of the 35% of the required rear yard. The other thing that was important for the property owner was having the parking available. So that was kind of the whole concept of having this ADU raised up so the tenants can have a place to park. And compared to, doing a simple 2-bedroom addition on the back of the house there's not a whole lot of space between the house and the rear yard setback line, and it would definitely impact some of the potential parking space and maneuverability. So the property owner, he feels like this is the best way to provide, 2 quality bedrooms to contribute to the housing stock of Ann Arbor. Any questions for me while I'm here?
Thank you. Any questions, Dave?
It looks like the adjacent property, is that a driveway, a shared driveway with easements, where you have a shared easement over each other's property or something?
There is a shared driveway. I
Right.
don't know if there's a legal easement in place or not.
Okay. But both of those properties use that driveway?
Yeah, 532, the property to the north shares.
Yeah, I'm
this-
looking at the photograph from above.
Yeah, that shares one driveway, and the resident or the tenants of that property park to the right, and the tenants of this property park to the left.
And so the existing garage is a two-car garage?
Would be a very, very tight 2-car garage.
And you've got, it looks like space for 1 or 2 spaces between the house and the existing garage?
Yeah, the owner told me that typically they're getting 2 cars. I don't think they typically ever park 2 cars in the garage because it is pretty small. So I think they typically have 1 car outside the garage and 1 car in the garage.
So really, this plan is increasing the amount of parking
Yes.
that's available and accessible to your tenants?
Correct.
Or to the owner's tenants?
Yes.
Well, that's certainly positive.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, please come forward now. If there's anyone accessing the meeting remotely, please press star 9 if accessing by phone, or use the raise hand feature if accessing through the web link.
There are no callers.
Thank you, John. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion.
I'll go.
Grace?
You don't know how you go. I talk to you.
I'm kind of on the fence about this. I'm not really sure if I'm understanding what the practical difficulty is here. I don't feel like that has necessarily been satisfied, other than, what a desire to create the additional units. I'm not. I could be convinced otherwise, but I'm not fully sure on that.
Chris, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll just be quiet. Welcome, John.
Todd?
2 things. I was nice to see this property. I lived here in the summer of 1979, and I noticed the porch is still in the front. It was a nice place to get cooked by the sun and listen to Detroit Tiger games. That has nothing to do with how I'm going to vote today, but it was a nice memory. I think to try to answer Grace's question, I think ADUs are something the city desires. So in my mind, it's okay to, try to squeeze this into some of the criteria, because ADUs are something the city wants to do. And this is a student area, so it's very close to campus, very close to the gigantic towers in South University and a bunch of places to eat. I think I'm probably going to vote for this. It is only a 10% variance. I tend to look at what percent of the variance they're chewing up. If it gets to be more than 50%, it's like, well, do you really need to do that? For 10% is, pretty close to only a little bit more, and I'm sort of comfortable with that.
Dharma?
Sorry, I have a question for staff, I think. Is there a limit to the number of unrelated people that can live in this zoning? Is that why they've highlighted the fact that they're not going to be adding tenants? They'll just have more space? I was kind of curious.
So it's a single-family home in a R4C district is allowed a maximum of 6 occupants.
Okay, got it.
Dave?
I've railed in the past about the planning department helping to give our board some guidance by giving us some new, or allowing us to put together different standards. Because when we apply the standards for most of the variances that we apply, the 5 stringent standards we have to meet, that doesn't work for sign ordinances, it doesn't work for fences, and it doesn't work for ADUs either. And given that the city is really trying to encourage ADU, accessory dwelling units, I think as a board and as a planning department, we should get some guidance to help us with the standards to judge these by. Given that, I'm looking at the 5 standards that we have, and we do, if we talk about a practical difficulty, the practical difficulty is how do we do these ADUs that the city wants? And then I look at the variance shall be a minimum variance that will make possible a reasonable use in terms of the ADU. A 10% variance, that is a minimal request. So I see those 2 points in conjunction. And then I look at our 3rd standard, allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done considering the public benefits of the zoning ordinance. And the public benefits as laid out by our city council is to add ADUs and add more units where people can live, to add density for residents to live in this downtown, especially in this downtown area, near downtown area. I'm going to be voting for this. It's, practical difficulty, yeah, maybe, but it does meet, in my opinion, it meets most of the standards, if not all of them, that we have to judge this by. So I will be voting in favor of it.
Chris? I knew you had something.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go off like last time, so I'll let you guys go. But this request fails to meet even a single one of our standards. And again, I'm not going to go on a long thing, but it could just be slightly smaller, right? So it's not the minimum. So it has failed to meet number 5. What's the practical difficulty? Nothing. They want to take up more of the rear yard setback than they're allowed to, right? There's no actual impediment to building a slightly smaller structure. And if a slightly smaller structure is able to be built and meet our rules, and there's no physical, hindrance to that, then there is no practical difficulty. And again, I'll drop it, but I just don't follow a line of thinking where the last lot, which clearly had impediments to building things, was not granted a variance, but this lot does. It just doesn't, right? And I want more housing. I just really want more housing. But I don't think it's our responsibility to waive certain ones of our standards just to fit more ADUs in. That's really it.
Todd?
Well, Chris, I really enjoyed the debating tonight. It's good. But you bring up really an excellent point, which these things are difficult. And for me, my favorite criteria, which no one ever really meets, is this the minimum variance that you can use the property? Because everybody that comes before the Zoning Board of Appeals is already living in the structure. They're heating themselves, they're going to sleep, they're not getting rained on, and they're using it. So no request would ever meet number 5. But we have to mush it a little bit. And the question is, to what extent do you mush something to squeeze a triangle into a round space? But these are difficult, and you pointed out some of the difficulties tonight, Chris.
Good night.
Dharma?
If I may regurgitate what I think I heard him say, though, is that an ADU could still be built, just a slightly smaller one.
That's correct.
So I don't think, it doesn't sound like there's such a hindrance to even doing what they want to do with the land.
I want
Dharma, I'm wondering if they could park the cars with a smaller ADU. I mean, that's a little bit of a request. I parked my car in the street when I lived there, and the street was always full, but, I don't know to what extent the cars govern the ADU size. Maybe that's a question for the applicant. Maybe it's too much mushing.
John?
I want to address just one comment. The goal of ADUs, there's kind of a misconception about ADUs, I think, in town, and it's not always about increased density or adding more people on a property. It's just also to give more options and a greater flexibility. This home already has 6 occupants in it. They're just in 4 bedrooms. So this would give 2 more bedrooms, and it'd be a 6-bedroom, 6-occupant property. So it's just a different housing option. It's not always about increasing density in the number of people on a property in every case. Some cases, yes, that can happen, but it's not always about that. And this ADUs cannot be short-term rentals as well. So.
Can I just say one quick thing?
Yes.
I'm really glad you guys are concerned about the parking on Walnut Street. I'm glad we're taking them off the road, up in Water Hill. Let's just stuff them on the street.
Are we ready for a motion?
As ready as we'll ever.
Make a motion.
Whoever's ready.
Just
I
for
welcome
the
it.
people out there, the staff here has generously laid a bunch of pre-drafted motions on my table, so it makes it really easy for me, and I'm always happy to facilitate the meeting moving forward by making the motions, since I have them in front of me to begin with. ZBA 23-0031, 536 Walnut Street. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 125-square-foot, 10% variance from Section 5.16.6D, accessory uses and structures, to construct a 599-square-foot accessory dwelling unit, ADU, in the rear yard. The ADU will meet the setbacks and height requirements. The accessory structure is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Dave. We have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
Thank you, Chris. Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Todd?
I think I'm going to vote no on this one.
Chris?
No.
Grace?
No.
I also vote no. Dharma?
No.
Sadira?
Yes.
With 4 yeses, the request is denied.
This was the difficult.
Moving on to petition ZBA 23-0032, 835 Redeemer Avenue. John?
Tri-County Builders, representing the property owner, are requesting a 10-foot variance from Table 5.17-1, single-family dwelling district dimensions, to construct a 2-story addition to the rear of the existing residence. The proposed addition will contain a 1-car garage, a mudroom, and stairs leading to the 2nd story. The 2nd story will contain an office and a bathroom. The property is zoned R1C, single-family dwelling district, and requires a minimum 30-foot rear yard setback. The subject property is located on the east side of Redeemer Avenue, north of Pauline Boulevard, in the Pauline Acres subdivision. The home was built in 1953 and is approximately 1,000 square feet in size. The existing 1-car detached garage will be removed to allow for the new construction of the proposed 2-story addition. The addition will not meet the required rear yard setback, but will comply with the required 5-foot side yard setback. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the subject property is highlighted in blue at the center of your screen in this zoning map. And you see Pauline to the south. The next slide is the location map. You see the subject property and the surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property. You see to the south of the property, the existing detached garage that's to be demolished, and the new addition is going to be built in that general location. The next slide is the existing site plan and survey that was submitted with the application. You see where the existing detached garage is going to be demolished, and then the new proposed 2-story addition and then the distance to the rear lot line of 20 feet, which requires 30 feet. This is the first floor plan of the addition. You see the proposed new garage along with the mudroom and the connection to the home into the kitchen. And the next slide is the second floor plan with the office and a hallway and a bathroom. Next slide shows the proposed side elevation or the south elevation of the new two-story addition and its relationship to the existing home. And then the new front elevation or the west elevation and shows the proposed addition. Next elevation is the north elevation and then the east elevation. This is the building section that's being proposed, the garage and the mudroom, and then the bath and the hallway and the office. Cross-section of the proposed building construction plans. These are the photos that I took on my inspection of the property. You see from the front of the street, the front elevation. The next slide shows the existing one-car garage in the south lot line, relationship to the neighboring fence. Next slide shows I'm standing about where the existing detached garage is and looking at the rear yard, and you see the abutting property. You see the sloping topography, existing fence between the two properties, and the relationship between the backyard of the subject property and the abutting property. This is looking at the back of the garage and the back of the home. Another angle of the back of the garage and the back of the home. This is looking directly at the side, the north side of the garage, and then the backyard of the abutting property to the left and the adjacent property to the south in the background. That is the end of my slides and my presentation at this time. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, John. Any questions? Todd?
Yeah, John, I think the two-story addition bumps out a little bit beyond where the existing detached garage is, like a foot or two, it looks like. It's very close.
Yes, probably.
And they can't go much farther, it looks like, because of the slope.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner's here, you can come forward. Please sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
I mean, I don't know what else I can say. John did a pretty good job there.
I gotta stop doing that.
My name's Chris with Tri-County Builders. Hold on here, I can't do two things at once. Anyways, Chris with Tri-County Builders. The garage was already existing. I think it's a foot. We're going outside the existing not setback, footprint. There's an existing slab back there already, so we're going to meet all the impervious area aspects. If anything, we're going to be a little bit less, I think, with the new addition. The house is small, growing family. We tried to make the basement a better living space a few years ago, and it just was not adaptive to what they had. There's no mudroom space there. You go in the front door, and there's sorry, I talk funny. You go in the front door, and there's just nowhere to put anything down. The back door, there's immediately steps. So there's just not much room for school gear and everything else. Then they also just wanted the attached garage versus the detached. That was, there's only a couple feet, barely, between the house and the existing garage. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Questions for the petitioner?
How many children are in the family, or how many family members are there total?
There's 3 as of now.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition?
I do also have numerous neighbor letters that are in the area in support of the project. I think the one and another one was a rental, and they said they, in support, but don't have, I don't know if it's a rental, but they were in support also. did not submit it with the stuff, though.
Yep, we have all that correspondence, and that'll be mentioned at the end of the hearing.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone here who wishes to speak, please come forward. If there's anyone accessing remotely, please press star 9 to raise your hand or use the raise hand feature on the web link.
No callers at this time.
Thank you, John. I will note we did receive in our packets letters of support from John Clark and Deanna Gates at 840 Redeemer, and Raphael Sweet and Kate Wells at 840 Hewitt, as well as a letter of support from Johnny Oserby. I believe those are the only 3 we have in here. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Dave?
I actually do have a couple questions that are probably better to ask our staff.
Sure.
So this, I did look at this, and this has, although it doesn't have as big of a lot by any measure as the first petitioner did tonight, this has a slope just as drastic in the rear, and the slope is amazing. It makes it hard to do anything in that rear yard. But my question, John, is when we're looking at these setbacks for the rear setback, because this is on a diagonal, and I'm looking at these lines, how do we measure this? Because part of the house is well enough setback, but then when you get over to this corner where it slopes, so where that lot line is so tight to where the garage is now, what are we measuring from?
So.
And to?
This line and this line are the side yard.
Okay.
This line right here is the rear yard.
Okay.
And so on the survey, from here, they measured from here to here. It's 30, it's supposed to be 30 feet, and they're showing 20. This right here doesn't count right here.
That's the side
That's
yard.
the side.
No, I'm saying this is the
Yeah, from this slot, yep.
Any other comments? Todd?
I'm leaning in favor of this for several reasons, but one, the new addition is essentially going to be on the footprint of the existing garage. And number two, 1,000 square feet is pretty small. I lived in a 900 square foot house when I was newly married, but didn't have kids, so. And with one kid, it's a little tight. It's doable, but I think, especially given that you're sort of replacing the garage and pushing it up a little, it seems pretty reasonable to me. So I think I'll be voting for it.
Any further discussion? We ready for a motion?
This is Redeemer Ave, right?
Yes.
Okay. If that's okay with you.
Pardon me? I'm grappling with this because I'm challenged by the relationship of this with the first petitioner tonight. And they're both houses with practical difficulties because of the slope primarily on both lots. This is a much smaller lot. It's substantial backyard, but it also, because of the tightness of I'd walked this whole neighborhood earlier today, the houses are pretty tightly squeezed in here, and this shape of this lot is distinctive and different from many of the other rectangular lots in the neighborhood, which I think presents a real challenge on this rear setback measurement. And for that reason, and looking at how much of the backyard is still usable, I'm going to support this because it's not really compromising the backyard. It's basically replacing the garage and attaching it. Additionally, I think the support of the neighbors is really persuasive to me in terms of justice to the neighborhood and effective the effect of other residents in the neighborhood, and that's another thing that weighs in favor of this. So even though I'm grappling with the juxtaposition of this with the earlier petitioner, on this one, I will vote in favor of it.
Just to piggyback on that a little bit, Dave, for me, it makes a difference that this is in the rear and not in the front.
Oh, yeah.
So I am, inclined to support this one as well. If there's no other discussion, I think we're
Okay.
ready.
I'll do a
Chris is
motion.
going to make the motion this time.
Okay, go for it.
Based on the following findings and in accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 10-foot variance from Table 5.17-1, Single-Family Dwelling District, dimensions to construct a 2-story addition to the rear of the existing residence. The property requires a 30-foot setback. The addition will encroach 10 feet into the rear yard setback. The addition is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have a motion? Do we have support? Support. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Where to start this time? Todd?
Yes.
Chris?
Support.
Grace?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Dharma?
Yes.
Sadira?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 23-0033, 819 Russet Road. John?
Architectural Resource, representing the property owner, are requesting relief from Section 5.32.2, nonconforming structure, in order to construct a second-story addition vertically to the existing nonconforming residence. The building is 4 feet 10.5 inches from the side lot line, and the proposed second-story addition will be constructed on top of the existing non-conforming first floor. The proposed addition will not encroach further into the required 5-foot side yard setback. The property is zoned R1C, single-family dwelling district. The subject property is located on the east side of Russet Road, north of Pauline Boulevard in the Pauline Acres subdivision. The home was built in 1955 and is approximately 1,082 square feet in size. The new second-story addition will include 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and an open outside deck. The office has high ceilings that create access and visual connection to a loft above for a third story. The new second story will be 1,229 square feet in area. The third floor loft will be a loft area that is 153 square feet in size that does not include the mechanical room. If you turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the first slide is the zoning map, and you see the highlighted parcel in blue, and it's just right around the corner from the previous petition, same neighborhood. The next slide shows the location map, surrounding properties, and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property. And the next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. And on this side and on this corner right here, it's approximately 1.5 to 2 inches from the side, meeting the required 5-foot side setback. So it's 4 feet 10 inches on one side and 4 feet 10.5 inches on the other. Won't be encroaching any further. It's just a second-story addition straight up. That's why it's an alteration. The next slide is a setback and footprint, kind of a site plan, design development slide. You can see they've put the setbacks in the red and show the existing house and how they, with the minimal encroachment into both sides setbacks. Next slide is the basement floor plan that they've submitted. There's probably, I think there's gonna be some remodeling of that. And then the next slide is the first floor plan. And the next slide is showing the new second floor plan, which will go on over the existing first floor. You see 2 bedrooms here. This is an office that's open above to the next third floor, a bath, and a outdoor deck right here. And then the primary bedroom is right there. So 3 new bedrooms, an office, an outdoor open deck. And then this is the loft floor plan showing you, oh, know what happened there. This is the loft floor plan right here, and then the open areas, mechanical room, open to the below, open to below. This is the roof plan that was submitted with the application, and these are the west exterior elevation. This is the front of the home facing Russet Road. And you see the second floor being added on top, and then that little loft area. This is from the south side, new south exterior elevation, east exterior elevation, or from the rear yard, the north exterior elevation. These are photos that were submitted with the application by the applicant. And these are my photos that I took on my inspection. You see the front of the house in its current condition. The side garage, this is the side south property area. This is the relationship between the two, the neighbor and the two structures. This is the photo from the rear yard. And that's all I have at this time. I can take any questions that you may have.
Thanks, John. Questions? All right, no questions. If the petitioner is ready, you can come forward. Please sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff May, and I'm one of the co-owners of 819 Russet Road with my wife Isabel Weiner, and so thank you for considering our application. Also with us is Dale Babcock from Architectural Resource, who designed the house. And I think just the main things we wanted to touch on is the design. We wanted to build on just the existing footprint, not expand the nonconformity. We discussed options with Dale and his team at one point, and we actually wanted to choose this option so that we wouldn't have any new incursion in the side setbacks. We love this neighborhood. We've lived there for about 7 years now, and we always had a vision, as we expand our family, to have a bigger spot for them. We have
almost
2-year-old son. Robbie's at home, but we just love where we're at. We love the idea of him being able to walk to school, go in the woods. It's got a nice, wonderful feel. And also, we like, in this, keeping the existing structure and not having to, demolish and build whole new. It's a really well-built house. It was really well taken care of by the first family, the Christophersons, who were there for about 40 years. And I just like the idea of being able to use that and incorporate that into this structure. Outside of that, I'll just point that we talked about it a lot with neighbors, but I think they submitted a lot of letters of support. And one thing we noticed actually is I believe in our packet we had 2 letters in there, one from our neighbor to the north and the south, which are the side setbacks of enthusiastic support, but they weren't included. I do have additional copies here if anybody wants to see them or read them. But outside of that, thank you for considering.
All right, thank you. Questions for the petitioners? Dave.
I just want to say I walked in this neighborhood today, and I haven't really spent any time in that neighborhood since high school, which was a long time ago. And we used to hang out in Fritz Park, and that's like such a wonderful woodsy place. When I was in high school, they didn't have it barricaded off from Pauline, so we could actually drive back there and drink our refreshments that we would bring. And at some point, I'm not sure if it was a year or 2 after high school, I put the barricade on Pauline. And why are they doing that? It's like the high school students can't get back there in their cars anymore. It's like
They still get back there.
Oh, they do? Okay. But it's such a wonderful neighborhood, and it was a real pleasure to walk there. I just wanted to say that and hope that you're enjoying that woods across the street, because it's one of the wonderful things we have in Ann Arbor, in close proximity to some of these really more modest neighborhoods Most of the houses still are one-story houses there. One of my best buddies in high school lived kind of around the corner over on Sunnyside, kind of dead ends there. It's just one of these underappreciated parts of the community, and it was wonderful to be able to be there earlier today.
Any other questions for the petitioners? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, please come forward now. If there's anyone accessing the meeting remotely that wishes to speak, please press star 9 to raise your hand or use the raise hand button through the web link.
There are no callers at this time.
Thank you, John. As noted by the petitioners, we did receive several letters. So we have a letter of support from Niraj Ganatra at 825 Russet Road. We have a letter of support from Ivo Dinov at 837 Russet Road, and I will apologize if I'm butchering anyone's names. We have a letter of support from Johnny Oserby. We have a letter of support from Linda Prescorn. Let me see here. Letter of support from Chris and Pam White at 1406 Russell Road. I believe that's all of them. So with that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Todd.
Well, refreshments is such a big word, but I won't press my fellow board member to define that more specifically, since it was a long time ago.
Are you ready for a motion?
I just want to say again, we're given, for those that are there here or watching on TV, this is an alteration to a non-conforming structure. I'm going to support it. It's a very minimal, it's absolutely no change in any of the non-conformities and has the support of all the neighbors. It's easy for us to support this, and I'm going to be voting in favor of it. Do you want to?
Thank you, Chris.
The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a nonconforming structure to allow a new second story to the existing nonconforming residence. The building encroaches 2 inches into the required 5-foot side setbacks. The addition is to be constructed vertically on top of the existing nonconforming first floor. The addition will not encroach further into the side yard setbacks. The addition is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have support? Thank you, Dharma. I vote yes. Dharma.
Yes.
Sadira.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Dave.
DeVarty, yes.
Christina.
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Grace.
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have the 2024 ZBA calendar for review and approval. So I didn't check, John, but I assume that this is our standard fourth Wednesday of every month, except for November and December, which are combined to the first Wednesday of December?
That is correct. I double-checked and verified it myself.
Great. And it doesn't conflict with any of the holidays or
Holidays, I
other
didn't,
days that we try to avoid having meetings on?
if it does,
As far
I
as
will
we
be the
know.
first to notify you.
All right, any comments or questions or any notes on the calendar?
I may miss the January meeting. I'm having cataract surgery. So I'm looking forward to it because I want my vision back.
Fair enough.
It may cause me to miss that meeting.
All right, with that.
No more tears.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the 2024 ZBA meeting calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. Support? Thank you, Grace. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to communications. I will say I did forget to mention for the Robin Road petition, we did have a letter of support from Barbara Ackley at 1101 Red Oak Road and from Caitlin Kelly at 1109 Red Oak Road that were in the packet. I missed those earlier. So,
But they were in the packet,
yes,
so.
they were in the packet. It was included in the
Agenda.
in all the items. Public comment. If anyone remotely, since there's no one else here, wishes to address the ZBA for any reason, now's the time. You'll have 3 minutes. Please press *9 to raise your hand or use the raise hand feature on the web link.
I'm not seeing any callers.
All right, thanks, John. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Someone has, oh,
Someone
sorry.
someone has some communication.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought we were still in the communications
Oh, no.
section. And this is new. I was told that it might be helpful for me to come back with news about new zoning changes passed at the city council table. And I thought that perhaps I could raise them in the communications section. So I can list them very quickly if you'd like to
I
hear.
think that's a great idea.
All right. All right. So on Monday, City Council passed a change to the zoning code about downtown premiums for D1 and D2. We have had since 2019 premiums based on maximum floor area ratio and premiums that would incentivize developers supposedly to build affordable housing development if they wanted to go beyond those limits. But they resulted in 0 affordable units, and it also slowed growth in the downtown. So we removed those. Still existing are height bonuses. So for extra height, you can get extra height with sustainability and affordability built in. Second thing is we made a change to amend the TC1, the transit-oriented corridor front setbacks, which I believe were initially set to 0. In some of our corridors, that's an issue because the land butts up right against a very narrow sidewalk and narrow bike lane, and there's just not a lot of space to do things. So staff came up with a way to measure the setback from the curb line to the front of the building so that for places that do already have wide rights of way, we're not adding all of this like green setback space. So that is new. And then we also approved Briarwood rezoning from office and parking lot to mixed-use residential. So 354 residential units, a retail and grocery store to replace the empty Sears store that closed in 2018. So that's it.
Cool.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or news to share? All right, now, anyone with a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Chris
Support.
and Dave. Support from Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.